You've just finished recording your audio project for my class. That's great! The next question is going to be, how do we get that footage off of the camera? First, we're just going to make sure that the camera is powered down by using the power rocker on the top left of the camera body. We'll slide this to the off position. With the camera power turned off, we're going to just slide this door up on the left side of the camera body. Then we're going to push on our SD card to make it pop out of the camera. Now, it's safe to just remove it from the camera body, and we're going to want to make sure that we take the time to close the SD card door as well. This just helps to protect the camera and make sure that it's readily available for future students to use. Once we have removed our SD card from the camera, it's best practice to make sure we lock the card so nobody can accidentally erase our data. In order to lock it, we're just going to use this small switch on the left side of the SD card. We're going to slide that down into the locked position. This prevents anybody from accidentally using this card before we take our data off. Now that we have our SD card in hand, it's time to transfer this footage onto the computer. The first thing I'm going to do is just turn the Mac around so it's easier for me to access the SD card reader located on the back of the iMac. We're going to take our SD card, and with the label facing upward, we're going to insert it into this SD card reader slot just by pushing in. Once we pushed it in, we're just going to turn our computer back towards us so we're ready to use it like we normally would. Now I'm going to switch over to my desktop view so you can see what I'm doing as I'm doing it. On the computer here, the first thing we're going to do is make a new folder on the desktop. The easiest way to do this is to just hold Control on your keyboard, click with your mouse, let go of Control, and then go to New Folder on your desktop. It's going to be important to try to stay organized with this. I always like to start my folder names and my file names with today's date or the date that we were recording. So in this case, I'll put 2022-04-21-audio_drama. Let's talk about that name for just a minute here. You may think it's a little strange to start with the year, but this is a fantastic way to make sure that all your files and all your folders stay in chronological order year after year. The underscore between audio and drama is also important. On certain computers and on certain systems, having spaces inside of a file name can cause a lot of trouble. So now we're going to go into our folder by double-clicking on it on our desktop. And this will open up our folder. Of course, there's nothing inside of here yet because we still need to transfer the files. I'm just going to set this Finder window off to the side until we need it. I'm going to double-click on Canon from my desktop. This should show up when we put in the SD card and is a representation of the SD card itself. I'm going to also move this out of the way. We're going to start by going into DCIM. Then we're going to go to our last recording. And here we can see our most recent recordings. If you don't see your recording in here, then just go to one of the previous dates on here, and it might be in there instead. So now that we've found our recording that we want to use, I'm going to click on it once. Then I'm going to use Command-C on my keyboard in order to copy that. Command is the equivalent of Control on Windows computers or on Chromebooks. On Mac, it's just called Command, and it's in a little bit different of a location. So we're going to use Command-C with our file, or all of our files selected, if we have more than one. Hit Command-C, and then we're going to make our folder active where we want to move it to. We're just going to use Command-V in order to copy it over. While we're waiting on this to copy, we can do a little bit more with our organization. It's great to have a folder named after the project, but we usually want to have a little bit more organization inside of these folders. So just like before, I'm going to hold Control and then click on my Finder window. Here I'm going to hit New Folder, and I'm just going to call this folder name Footage. I'm going to make another project or another folder called Projects. Now we have two separate categorizations here. Footage is going to be where we're going to keep all of our audio recordings or all of our video recordings for a project. Projects is where we're going to keep our save files for Adobe Premiere Pro, or DaVinci Resolve, or Adobe Audition, or whatever other editing program we happen to be using at the time. To actually move our footage into this folder, I'm just going to select everything if there's more than one by holding down my mouse on any of the empty space here and dragging to select multiple things at once. Once I release, it should have every part of our file structure here selected. Then, with the files all selected, we're just going to click and drag this into our footage folder. Now, personally, I like to have a little bit more organized view than this. So I'm going to go to these dots and lines at the top, and this will just show the same information in a little bit different of a way. So you can see that we have our footage here, and we have our projects. If I click on this arrow next to footage, then you can see that the file is in fact in the footage folder. Once we've finished copying over all of our footage, the last step is going to be to remove the SD card from the computer. Now, before you go just pulling it out, there's one important step we need to do first. We're going to close all of our Finder windows. Then, on our desktop, we're going to take the Canon SD card, click it, and hold down our mouse. Then we're going to drag it to the trash can icon in the bottom right, and you'll see it turns into this arrow. Once I let go of the SD card while holding it above this arrow, it should eject the card so it can be safely removed without worrying about corrupting your data. You'll see that it's gone from our desktop now. Now that our SD card has been safely ejected from the computer, we can physically remove it from the SD card reader on the computer. We're just going to grab it and pull it back to remove it. As you'll recall, earlier I mentioned the process for locking an SD card so we don't accidentally delete the data. Well, now that we've safely transferred the data to our computer, it's time to unlock it so it's ready to use for the next student. We're just going to do the opposite of what we did earlier and take this lock switch on the left, and we're going to click it up. This will unlock the card so it's ready to use for your fellow students. It's now time to return our SD card back to the camera. We're just going to open up that same hatch that we had earlier. We're going to take the SD card and put it into slot A. If you're having trouble putting it in, just like here, then it's probably facing the wrong way. Just flip the card upside down, and it should slide in a lot easier. Once you push it in far enough, you should feel it click into place. Then just close the side door to protect those SD card slots. Almost done now. We're going to turn the camera back on by using the power rocker and switching it over to camera mode. We're on the home stretch now. Our final move is going to be to wipe the SD card clean so it's ready to use for our next student. We're going to hit Function up in the top left, and then go into Menu in the top left. Instead of using this camera tab, we're going to go to the middle one and slide all the way down to the bottom. At the bottom, you'll see it says Initialize SD. Initialize is another way of just saying that we're going to be wiping the memory card clean. We'll hit this arrow to the left, and then select the memory card slot we want to delete. In this case, we're only using memory card slot A, so there's only one option. And we're going to press Initialize. You'll see it gives a warning message that this quickly erases all files from the memory card. Initialize, and we're just going to hit Yes. And you'll see that the process was completed successfully. We're just going to hit X in the top right to get out of that menu system and turn the camera off using the power rocker on the back left of the camera. And there you have it. We've now come full circle and the camera is ready to use for the next students. We've successfully transferred our footage to the computer and now we're ready to move on to editing. So please check out the next video on how to get started with editing audio in Adobe Premiere Pro. Thanks for watching, and as always, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to raise your hand in class or shoot me a message. I'll get back to you as fast as I can to get all your questions answered and get you editing straight away.